Hello, 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 guys. Looks like we are live. David, how you doing? Dabbing King, always here as usual. My number one fan. Yeah, so I think we're not gonna have as much people as we usually do. We've usually had in the last 2 weeks or so because I didn't announce this one. I want to see what difference it makes. If I don't mention on the community tab that I'm going to do a live stream, see what difference it makes to the viewership because YouTube is pretty weird with notifications and when it tells subscribers that you. Okay, I'm back now. Right, guys, sorry about that. The thing is, with the microphones and stuff, you never really know if it's properly sorted until you actually start the live stream, and then you have to start changing things about. So how's everyone doing? Right, we've got Fernando, David, Dr. Andy, Dabbing King. Hi, David. Yeah, so as I mentioned when I started the live stream, I haven't announced this one. I didn't put it on the community tab. I just wanted to see if it made a difference to the viewership with the YouTube's weird way of telling subscribers that you've got new videos and live streams coming out. So we'll see if it makes a difference. Also, I'm planning on keeping this one short and sweet. The first was about an hour and 15 minutes. The second live stream I did was about 2 hours. But obviously, no one's going to watch a video that's 2 hours long. So I'm going to try and do is maybe keep this one about half an hour long, or 45 minutes or so. So did you guys see that? Hi, Brian. Sorry, Brian. Branks5200. Hello, friend. Did you guys see that Harvey Keitel image that I shared today on my community tab of a film coming out, which is a biopic of Meyer Lansky, and he's going to play Meyer Lansky, an older Meyer Lansky, who's telling his story, and in the flashbacks, unlike something like The Irishman, which uses obviously de-aging CGI, they're going to use a younger actor. Anybody think that film's going to be good? I've not got high hopes for it myself. Because the thing is, most gangster movies nowadays, they're crap, aren't they? If we're honest, we get a few here and there, like The Irishman or American Gangster, which are awesome. This kind of looks like one of those direct-to-DVD movies. Brinks asks, when is that coming out? I'm not sure, to be honest. I wasn't sure anyway, but obviously with the COVID stuff, even if it had a release date, that'd probably get pushed back now. It's in post-production, so it hasn't finished being filmed yet. I don't think it has a distribution company yet, so we don't know for sure, but I'll still watch it, I just hope it doesn't end up something like Mobtown or Gotti. But when you look at who's directing it, the supporting cast, it's not really something that you get your hopes up for. Yeah, Davin King says it's all about TV shows these days. That's where things are heading. Yeah, I mean, the lack of creative freedom in mainstream Hollywood and lack of budgets and money given to creative authors, it means obviously people are going to TV, aren't they? And I mean, we've had a fair few. I would say there's a lot more better gangster TV shows nowadays than there are movies. Things like Boardwalk Empire, Gomorrah, Peaky Blinders, and all these kind of things. They outweigh the quality of gangster films that we've had in the last 10-20 years or so, I think. Yeah, Stephen Butterfield, gangster movies are very hit and miss. Yeah, they are, aren't they? For all the classics and the fantastic films out there, there's a lot of poor imitations. David Salgado asks, do you think Al Pacino and De Niro will be good movies again? I think De Niro definitely. He'll have his fair share of crap films, but we know obviously one big film that will most likely be very good. He's going to be in obviously Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon with Leonardo DiCaprio. So he's definitely going to have one good movie at least. Al Pacino doesn't really have anything on his plate at the moment. He's going to be in some World War II set movie coming out soon, which he's already filmed. But there doesn't seem to be that much on his schedule. I think The Irishman was the peak of what we'll see of them. They won't do anything. They won't reach those heights again. Maybe De Niro and Killers of the Flower Moon, but that was kind of the last hurrah of their both careers. So maybe if someone nabs him up, some good director puts him in one of their films. But I think we've seen the best of De Niro and Pacino now. You like Joe Pesci's Snicker commercial? Asks David Delgado. Yeah, I mean, I saw that before The Irishman came out. I thought, yeah, this guy can still deliver, can't he? There was another one he did, wasn't there? For Home Alone. It was a Google advert, I think it was, where he was looking at a clip of Home Alone or something, and he was looking on, and it was almost like an old father being proud of his son kind of thing. He looked really old in that one though. Ash Harry asks, "What are your thoughts on War with Grandpa?" So yeah, if you guys don't know, a trailer to a De Niro movie I've been following for a while now has come out recently called The War with Grandpa. I was going to do a trailer review, but then I watched the trailer and I thought, nah, because it just kind of looks like another paycheck movie for De Niro. You know, I didn't laugh throughout the uh, trailer. I did. I mean, smile here and there. You know, Uma Thurman's in it. Christopher Walken's in it. It does look like it has the potential to be a decent family film. Couple of laughs here and there. You know, those kind of movies that they used to make back in the 90s. You know, like things like Matilda and all that. I don't think it'll obviously reach the heights of those kind of films, but maybe it could be a decent film. But I'm not getting my hopes up. You know, De Niro stars in all sorts of rubbish. He doesn't even look like he shaved for the role or was in the makeup chair. He just kind of looks like he turned up and just started doing his thing. It's having OMG, on behalf of everyone here, your Peaky Blinders review, can you do that accent again, please? Alright then. What did I say again? Alright, it was something like, by order of the Peaky fucking Blinders. It was something like that, wasn't it? Yeah. Oh, there you go. I hope you're happy. Stephen Butterfield asks, your favorite B movie? I mean, the thing is, what would you qualify and quantify as a B movie? Because when someone says B movie to me, the one that instantly comes to my head, even though it's an intentional B movie and it did have a huge budget, but it's made in the spirit of B movies, is John Carpenter's Big Trouble in Little China, which was such a wacky, weird film. And I know it wasn't a cheap film, and if I remember correctly, it was a studio movie, so it doesn't count as a B movie. But that kind of encompassed everything I love about B movies. Alex Spur asks, what's that Meyer Lansky movie called? At the moment, it's just called Lansky. That's what it says on all these reports and articles online, and that's what it says on its IMDb page. So, I mean, it could change, you know. A lot of movies do change their names closer to their release date or when they get picked up by a distributor. At the moment, it's just called Lansky. El Rue asks, don't you think Al and Bob are too old and need to just retire? Now, I don't think they're too old. I don't think any actor is too old, because there's always a role. The issue is finding the right role for them. They have been doing roles that they're too old for. You know, like Righteous Kill. They looked ridiculous in that film when they were lifting weights and pumping iron. But they looked all old and saggy and grey. But there's loads of actors out there, old actors, who have done really well for themselves. But it's about reinventing yourself. They can't like say for example, gangster roles. They can't go around pretending to be young hitmen anymore. Things like that. But it's very feasible to play a gangster at Al Pacino's age or Robert De Niro's age. There's plenty of gangsters who are old. But the thing is, I mean, if they retire now, what's the point? You know, 'cause they've already made so many crap films. It would be easy to say that in around 2005 or something, when they start to make really rubbish films, maybe they should just retire. But Pacino had his thing in that Hunters with Amazon. That was a role that was appropriate for his age. De Niro plays a few grandpa roles. He was in Dirty Grandpa. He's in War with Grandpa. I know the quality of the films are bad, or potentially bad with Grandpa, but the role itself is one that De Niro can play because obviously he's an old guy. So I don't think they should retire. It's just they should, if they're still serious about their craft, they should make more effort into playing roles that suits their age. It's like De Niro's upcoming role in Killers of the Flower Moon, I think is going to be a good one, even though he's not anywhere near the age of the character. The age of the character doesn't matter. I think they're going to make the character a lot older in the film. But I mean, there's loads of actors who, like, Christopher Plummer, for example. Plummer has been no one's going to say Christopher Plummer should retire. The guy who was in The Insider, the recent Ridley Scott movie All the Money in the World, because he's picking roles that are good for him and he's showcasing his talent. I mean, The Irishman showed that it's not that De Niro and Pacino don't have talent anymore, because obviously they do have talent. The film showed that they were both great in it. So yeah, they should just pick their roles better. But if it's a case of, right, they're both bored, they just want money, or they just want to have fun on set, whoopee for them. They've at least given us some all-time great films and all-time great performances. David Salgado asks, I wonder how Scorsese feels about some of the actors he works with going in Marvel movies. Sam Jackson, Mark Ruffalo, Ben Kingsley. I'm sure he doesn't mind. He's not waging war against Marvel films. He just doesn't feel that those are, cinema. They're theme park movies, which, I mean, I think to an extent, everybody on this chat at the very least agrees to some extent that those aren't the same kind of films that Scorsese makes, that David Fincher makes, that all these authors make, creative authors that are trying to get a story out there. Superhero movies are just conveyor belt films, are here to appease the masses, and people make a career out of starring in them. They feed their families by starring them. I'm sure Scorsese doesn't have a problem with actors he uses that go and star in Marvel films. I don't think he wants to wage war against them. Alex Spur asks, do you believe the Irishman movie actually happened? Michael Francis says Frank Sheeran was lying. See, it's weird because, Francis actually was very young when Hoffa disappeared, and he was not part of the Detroit Mafia or the Chicago Mafia or any mafia close to the Hoffa disappearance. And you would imagine they would keep the people involved would keep that all very hush hush. So I'm not saying he doesn't know. I'm just saying, Frank Coluto, Michael Francis, all these mob guys, they're all saying different things. Frank Sheeran said something else which was contrary to the general thought as to how Hoffa died. Who knows, I believe some of the book, it does sound plausible. There are other parts where I think stretches the truth, and maybe some parts that are just made up for dramatization. It might not even be that Frank Sheeran himself is lying, because don't forget, Frank Sheeran didn't write the book. It was written by Charles Brand. I'm not saying he was lying, but maybe sometimes you have to embellish or spice things up if you want to make a bestseller, which is what the book turned out to be. I don't have a reason to believe I Heard You Paint Houses and Frank Sheeran. I don't have a reason not to believe it. I just read the book and I think, all right, this sounds plausible. It does sound like it could have happened, and that's pretty much what my stance is. With the film itself, Scorsese has mentioned a few times that it doesn't matter whether it was a true story or not. They're not making a biopic of Frank Sheeran and his life. They are concerned with the character Frank Sheeran, not the real hitman Frank Sheeran, the character Frank Sheeran, played by Robert De Niro, and how the Hoffa hit and all the things he's done and the life he's lived affected his life and what it did to him as a person. The truth doesn't really matter. But yeah, to answer your question, I guess I do. A lot of the research and the information available to us does point to the fact that a lot of the book is true. Like the war stuff, 411 days Frank Sheeran did in combat, we know that's true. and he claims that he committed war crimes. No way of verifying that, but we can take his word for it. Some of the more ridiculous claims or outlandish claims in the film are things like him killing Crazy Joe Gallo, which is, I mean, the thing is, the book is even more crazy in that regard, because it's almost like Forrest Gump, where Sheeran says he was the one who delivered the cash personally to the president's representatives to get Hoffa out of prison. The money they gave under the table. He played a part in handling the guns, that killed JFK. He killed Jimmy Hoffa. He killed Crazy Joe Gallo. He was tight with Hoffa. He was tight with Russell Buffalino, with Angelo Bruno. The book is actually a lot more outlandish than the film, but it does feel grounded. It does seem as though, I mean, we know he was in there. He was in the mafia's inner circle. He was the only Italian not in the FBI's list of La Cosa Nostra top level members. He knew the lingo, the language, the way they talked. There were things that he knew that the average layman wouldn't know. So I believe a lot of it. There are some bits I do raise my eyebrows at, but some people think, for example, that there's no way the mafia could have been involved in the assassination of JFK. But there's so many things, crazy things that have happened throughout history that only many years later we knew about, or things we just, MK Ultra, for example, or the American government sterilizing African American women. So many things that, or even spying on their people, through laptops and things like that, the phones. You just think this belongs in a sci-fi movie. Nobody would believe this. It would be stupid, outlandish, ridiculous. But then when the evidence comes about and it turns out it's all true, it changes things. So who knows? Right, I'm quite behind on the chat, so let me just scroll back up. So Stephen Butterfield asks, my favorite Sopranos episode. I mean, Pine Barrens is a fan favorite, isn't it? That's one of the very best because it's just so wacky and out there and different. I don't really remember specific individual episodes. Maybe I really like Phil Leotardo as a character. Maybe a lot more of the episodes that he's involved in. Maybe the one where he kills Vito. But there's just, there's so many. It's hard to pinpoint. I'd have to look at a list and see all the episodes and pick from the list. Dabbing King asks, where do you think movies and cinema will be in 30 years' time? That industry, it just doesn't seem sustainable anymore, which is heartbreaking, but Hollywood has killed the industry, I feel. What do you think? Well, it is interesting because what you say is true in that, Hollywood has really done a lot of damage to the industry. Not even, I'm not even talking about, Harvey Weinsteins and all that kind of stuff, just even from a creative outlook, that people who want to make good movies can't get them made anymore. It's just all remakes and reboots and superhero films. And Disney even said, for example, that all of this stuff, their TV shows, their movies, are all going to be released on Disney Plus, not on cinema. The only films that are going to come out on cinema are their tentpole films, their big Star Wars movies, their big superhero films. That's just depressing. So yeah, but obviously something new and interesting has happened in the last couple of years with the rise of streaming platforms. So there's all of a sudden competition for Hollywood, which is always healthy. There should always be competition. There should never be a monopoly. Even Disney themselves have a monopoly almost in the film industry in America. But now with the arrival of streaming studios, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney's own Disney Plus, Hulu, Apple Plus TV, obviously Scorsese's just did a deal with Apple Plus, which suggests almost every film he will make from now on will be made with them. The Coen brothers have gone to Netflix. David Fincher has gone to Netflix. So, in my opinion, that's good because there's competition for Hollywood, and hopefully it will kind of revitalize Hollywood. They will start reaching out to these filmmakers and try and get movies made with them again. If that's not the case, then we'll just get these films on the streaming platforms. The problem there is that there's so many streaming platforms now, so many trying to grapple on top of each other and be the biggest of the best, that we're in danger of going back to the days of cable TV, where it all depends on which. I mean, like in the UK, for example, we used to have Virgin, we've got Sky, BT, all these different. If I use football as an example, soccer, you Americans would say, the English Premier League. There's some matches that are released on Sky Sports, and you have to pay for that. It's very very expensive, a lot of money. Some are released on BT. There used to be a channel called Setanta Sports. Some games are now being released on Amazon. Even Facebook trying to get in on it. So we've potentially the collapse of Hollywood is a good thing, but it's not as if everything's going to be hunky dory again, because the streaming platforms have a lot of negatives about them as well. But 30 years is your question. 30 years is a long time. Who knows if we're ever going to be here in 30 years with the way the world is going. Oh, Dabbing King has donated £1 to the channel. Thank you very much for that. You're a star. Elru, thanks man, good point. Yeah, it's all part of the discussion. I wish I could spare more money, the Dabbing King says. Listen, anything you do is just a big bonus for me. It's just, I'm so grateful. I can't even comprehend the fact that you're giving me money, and then don't think that money is being wasted, by the way. I'm always bleeding cash back into the channel, trying to, for research, for equipment. This microphone, for example, is relatively new. I use a Rode microphone, which it's pretty awesome. I think the sound is a lot better than the Blue Snowball that I used to use, which in itself is a pretty brilliant microphone. Only 50 quid as well. This one is a lot more expensive though. Stephen Butterfield asks, where did you get your interest for film? So yeah, I talked about this in my last live stream and the live stream before that, I think. So what it was is, it started basically with my mum. I told it in more detail last time, so I'll just in case some people get bored, I'll go through it quickly now. I was in a shop and all my friends had seen Jaws. Yeah, Jaws was the big film that all the kids were into at the time, and I looked at a VHS of Jaws and I said to my mum, "Can we get that?" I think I was about 7 at the time, and she was like, "No." Probably because it had a half-naked woman on the front, and she was like, "Get this film instead. I've seen this. This is good." And it was a copy of Aliens, James Cameron's film, and we ended up taking that home. I watched it. I was horrified by the chest bursters and all that stuff, but I loved it. It awakened something in me. And then I watched all the Alien films. Then I watched the Predator films, and another film my mother recommended to me. She talked to me about this film called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, some kind of movie about guys looking for some cash that was hidden in a graveyard. One of them knows where the graveyard is. One of them knows which grave it is, and they're all going at it with each other. They need each other, but at the same time they're trying to kill each other. And I found it really interesting what she was talking about. And then the movie was on TV, and we watched it together. And The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Sergio Leone's film, 1968 one, just blew my mind. It showed me just how good films could potentially be. And it just went from there. I watched all of Sergio Leone's other movies. Then I remember hearing about this film, The Godfather. Everybody's heard of it. I've never seen it. It was on TV. I watched it again, blew my mind. I started seeking out other crime films. That's pretty much where my interest in gangster movies came from. I saw a lot of the classics in the space of about a couple of weeks. Goodfellas, Casino, Donnie Brasco, Scarface, The Untouchables, all of those kind of films. And yeah, so I went from there. There were some genres that stuck out to me, like mafia movies, spaghetti westerns, and the mafia movies took me down a rabbit hole to film noir. Those old black and white films with the guys like James Cagney, Humphrey Bogart, and then that opened my door to black and white cinema. So then I started discovering Federico Fellini, Alfred Hitchcock, and it just went from there. So yeah, that's pretty much where my interest in film started. It was Aliens and The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, and it all started with my dear old mother. Who's your favorite director? Asks DB7TV. My favorite living director is Martin Scorsese, which you've probably guessed if you've spent enough time on the channel. My favorite director of all time is Sergio Leone, the director of the Dollars trilogy. A Fistful of Dollars, for a few dollars, One, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and he also did Once Upon a Time in the West, disucssion, and Once Upon a Time in America. Matthew Chandra asks, are you a Star Wars fan? If yes, which is your favorite? Mine is Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, it's the same with me. When I was a kid, I loved Star Wars. I was all about Star Wars. I used to have Star Wars books and DVDs, and I mean, when I was in junior school, primary school, I don't know what you guys call it in America, but when you're not high school, the other one. I was so known for loving Star Wars. I remember that my head teacher at assembly every day, they used to put on music while you're walking in the hall. Just for me specifically, they put on the Star Wars theme song, the Imperial March, and that just goes to show how known I was for loving Star Wars. But I grew up with the prequels. I was part of the prequel generation, and obviously later on you realize the flaw of the films. But even still, I have a great love for the prequel films. Then I want to watch the originals, and I obviously love them. As with you, Empire Strikes Back is the one that stuck out as being really hardcore, really different, really scary. What happens with Han Solo and all that, and the revelation about Darth Vader and his son. Even though I had already seen the prequels, it was one of those where you have fractured memories of the films. So I'm not even sure the first time I saw Empire if I remembered that Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's father. So I think the impact still was there. I'm not a fan of the new films. Well, saying that, that's a lie. I'm not a fan of The Force Awakens, which left a really bitter taste in my mouth. It didn't feel like Star Wars. It didn't have the soul of Star Wars. It just felt like a commercial Disney space movie. Just another one of these superhero films. It also felt very politically correct. And it just kind of put me off. I haven't seen any of the other Star Wars films, the new ones. I have seen The Mandalorian, though, the TV show that came out last year, I think it was. Yeah, that was good. That was very good. It actually reminded me of my favorite film director's movies, Sergio Leone. It felt very very westerny. It felt like a western that just had a Star Wars coat on it, Star Wars template, Star Wars costumes and worlds and aliens and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, The Mandalorian is worth checking out. That's very good. But the Force Awakens I thought was horrible. And from what I see from people online, the rest of the films, I mean, The Force Awakens apparently is the best of a bad bunch. The only one I see people going on about that's actually good is I can't remember what it's called now. The one about stealing the Death Star plans. Yeah, but that one. But anyway, I am a big Star Wars fan. I know a lot about the lore and all that. In fact, I made a few videos on Star Wars. Not recently. Like, I think one of my very first videos is called Exploring Yoda's Decision to Exile Himself, something like that, where I discuss, basically, Yoda's decision to exile himself and how I thought it could have been better handled, how they could have added more weight to it. Because in the Revenge of the Sith, it's almost like Yoda decides, right, in the next movie, I'm in Dagobah, so I need to find a way to quickly get there. And he just randomly blurts out, into exile I must go, after he fails to kill Darth Sidious, when really he had a lot more to give. There's a lot more he could have brought to the table. DB7TV says, you only like mafia movies? No, I don't. I like all sorts of movies, but the thing is, a lot of guys on my channel like gangster films, crime films, as do I, so it makes sense to talk about them. I have started to talk about a lot of other movies. I review all sorts of films, but I've also talked a bit about Sergio Leone's westerns. There's a few John Carpenter movies I've done videos on, and a few more I've got coming out. So yeah, but the thing is, obviously, very few people watch them. So obviously, you're going to cater to your audience, but at the same time, you're going to talk about what you want to talk about. And it's a happy coincidence that people on my channel like talking about gangster films, and that's one of my favorite genres. Not the favorite genre of mine though, but one of them definitely. And I'm hoping that as and when I get more subscribers and the channel, grows and grows, I can start talking about more different stuff. But I will always be talking about crime films. That love will never go away, I don't think. Heat is 25 years old, says David Salgado. Yeah, time flies, doesn't it? 25 years old. Casino as well, then, that means, because obviously Casino came out the same year. KYM Exotics, my old friend who, if you guys don't know, is my turtle man, the guy who set up my fish tank and who I bought my turtles from. Loving the content, bro. Keep it up. How are the turtles going? Well, thank you very much. Yeah, they're going great. I've got a few more vlogs, how you say, coming out. I've made them already. It's just about a matter of scheduling, finding a slot to schedule them in, because at the moment I've got one video coming out every day for the next couple of days, really, because obviously with the lockdown it's given me opportunity to make more videos. So you guys are going to be seeing one film per day for a little while, actually, a couple of weeks, I think. David Salgado asks, have you seen all of Scorsese's producer movies? So the films he's made as a producer. No, I haven't. No, I probably don't want to either, because he's done so many and a lot of them don't look good. KYM Exotics asks, also, I am very curious, what's your opinion with this overly feminizing themes being portrayed within movies these days? I feel it is really forced and doesn't come off naturally. Yeah, I mean, I'm in the boat camp of people that, this is not politically motivated. I'm not going to get into the whole liberal versus Republican thing, but I am in the camp of people that is not particularly happy with the amount of political correctness they're shoving in mainstream Hollywood these days. And it's not in a way that, oh man, why is everybody black now? Why all the men or manly roles being played by women? It can be done, but it has to be done organically. It has to feel authentic. Nobody complained about Furiosa in Mad Max Fury Road, her character, because she was a well-done character. Nobody's ever complained about Sarah Connor or Ellen Ripley, because they're well-done characters and these are strong female characters. But in a lot of films these days, first of all, they shove it in your face. The character goes around saying, I'm a woman, hear me roar, which it's just and then there's the fact that it's very poorly done in most cases. And I mean, I'm being very brief here because I don't want I'll end up going on and on. But the third and one of the most important things is that a lot of these strong female characters in modern day movies, they're strong by imitating men. So they can't be strong and feminine at the same time, which characters of old have done, like Sarah Connor. She was a mother. The theme of motherhood is very strong in Terminator, as is in James Cameron's Aliens. But it's like you have to be strong at the expense of your womanhood nowadays, where, like, say for example, there's so many films with this skinny little girl just beats the crap out of huge burly men, and she has no sexuality, she doesn't like men at all, and there's loads of little things like that where it's almost like they've stripped everything that makes her a woman and they've turned her into a man. The only difference is she's played by a woman. And for that ironically, to me, is sexist, because what you're suggesting is that the only way a woman can be strong is by becoming a man, by imitating men, which is completely untrue. Women can be strong. Of course, women. It's stupid to even have to say this. Of course, women can be strong, but they don't need to imitate men to be strong. And at the same time, this is a topic for another day, I think. But yeah, I mean, to an extent, I do agree with you. I mean, when you say forced, that's probably the worst thing, that it doesn't come off naturally. The Dabbing King asks, not sure if you do know, but in terms of the mafia today, is it a dying breed now, or are they still very much out there? They're very much out there. Perhaps not to the strength in the 70s and 80s, or back in the 30s and 40s and 50s. But from what I hear, from what I gather from the information I do have, and news outlets you see, they were heavily weakened, and perhaps weak during the 90s, because obviously that was the aftermath of the Mafia Commission trials of the 1980s. But apparently they're very strong now. The Mafia, they've moved into things like cybercrime, things that you can't see, things that are not really tangible. And apparently, when things like these 9/11 happened, and there's so much focus on terrorism, international terrorism, the Taliban, all that kind of stuff, the FBI's attention was deviated and moved away from domestic organized crime and onto terrorism, and that allowed the mafia to kind of recuperate from the huge losses they faced from things like RICO charges, and they apparently are quite strong today now because of that. It's actually something that's touched upon in The Sopranos. You know, in the last season where that what's his name, Agent Harris. Yeah, Agent Harris comes to Tony and he says that he's been moved to terrorism and he's been spending time in Pakistan, things like that. And that kind of links to the fact that the FBI ended up shifting their focus from organized crime to terrorism. So yeah, to answer your question, from what I know, the mafia is still very strong today, and they are stronger now than they were about 10 or maybe even 20 years ago. David Salgado asks, favorite Robert Zemeckis movie. What has he done? He's done Flight. He's done Forrest Gump, Back to the Future. He's done a fair few. I know there's definitely I really like him. He's a good director. You know, he makes some really good family movies. He's made iconic films. I'd probably say Back to the Future, I think, off the top of my head. I know there's a fair few that I love from him that are just not going in my head. I have seen, sorry, that are just not entering my mind. Because as I said, you know, when I turn on the mic and I do a live stream, my mind tends to go blank. But yeah, Back to the Future is awesome. Fish, Mr. Fish says, thoughts on Killing Them Softly? Yeah, that Brad Pitt movie. James Gandolfini is in it as well, isn't he? Yeah, I like that. You know, a lot of people hated it because perhaps they thought it was going to be some kind of epic mafia movie, but I liked it. It was low key. Ray Liotta's in it as well, isn't he? Yeah. Yeah, it was low key. It was different. It was not some kind of big epic sprawling thing that covers decades. It was just a very singular, small scaled, local story. Very politically driven, which perhaps maybe turned off some people. But yeah, I like that film. I'd say maybe a solid 7 out of 10. And you know, I know I said that I'm going to only be doing this live stream for about half an hour, 45 minutes, but I noticed that there's a lot more people here now, a lot more people asking questions. So yeah, I will go as long as it's interesting. But I did plan to cut it at about half an hour, 45 minutes, because obviously when YouTube saves the live stream and it goes on the channel, very few people are going to watch it if it's an hour long, 2 hours long like last one. But you know, let's just do it. You know, you guys are here, you wanna talk, I want to talk, so you know, who cares? Let's do this. Where are we? Dr. Andy says, would you do a movie on movie review? Sorry, on Romeo Must Die. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen it, but I'll review any film that I see. So yeah. Do you know Hassan Piker? Nope. Stephen Butterfield. What's the most overrated film you've seen? The most overrated film I've seen. You know, I'm gonna really piss you guys off here, but when you guys ask me questions, it looks like I never give you a straight answer. And I'm not going to give you a straight answer here either, because my answer to this question is it would depend on who's overrating it. You know, is it overrated by general film consensus online? Is it overrated by the IMDb top 250 films, of which there are loads of films which are way too high, really overrated? Is it overrated by my friends? But you know, to answer your question, maybe The Dark Knight Rises. You know, I thought that film was pretty poor. You know, a huge step down from The Dark Knight. There were bits in it I did love. I thought it was excellently shot as well, but there were some clankers in the script. Christian Bale was not as good as he was in the previous film. But yeah, it seemed like Christopher Nolan didn't want to make it. That's what, you know. I'm not saying that based on any evidence or anything. Just from the fact that you watch Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, and it seems like they're made with love. You know, they're made with passion, and there's heart in those films. But Dark Knight Rises just kind of felt like him going through the motions, and yet it has so many high ratings of mine. So yeah, I mean, it's not the most overrated film I've seen, but that's the one. That's one that comes to my head just to answer your question and give you one. Nikhil Naya says, just finished Sopranos last week. Oh, congratulations. Welcome to the family. What's your opinion on the whole series and the infamous cut black? A black cut, sorry, at last. Yeah, I mean, I love The Sopranos. Fantastic. You know, I make loads of videos on The Sopranos on my channel. There's loads more coming that I've made, that are scheduled, coming out in the next few weeks and months. You know, it's a classic, perhaps. I mean, from what I've seen, definitely the greatest mob movie series, and it's definitely one of the greatest television shows ever made. So influential. That's something we all need to remember, because without The Sopranos, if The Sopranos kicked off the modern day golden age of television, we wouldn't have Boardwalk Empire, we wouldn't have Game of Thrones and all these shows that we love, because The Sopranos was the one that started it. The Sopranos will show that you could bring movie quality to television, and you could enhance that quality because obviously you've got more time, you've got more hours. A movie has what, 2 hours, 2.5 hours? TV show has hundreds. But yeah, your thoughts on the infamous cut to black? I think all of us, when we saw the cut to black ending of The Sopranos, our initial reaction was like, what the hell was that? But I grew to love it, and now I just think it was the ape. There's no better way of finishing The Sopranos. It was an outstanding ending. It's just that when the first time you watch it, you're confused, you know. But yeah, I thought it was brilliant, a great ending, and I mean it's proven by the fact that we're all still discussing it today. You know, I made a video on the ending where I collated everything David Chase has said about it, and you know, there's fantastic discussions being had on that video. The Dabbing King asks, I just have to ask, who do you find more terrifying, Liam Neeson or Chuck Norris? Well, I think if I had nicked a tenner from someone and I was hiding in my front room and then I heard a knock on the door and I didn't answer, and then I heard the door slam open and someone walk into it, I'd be more terrified to see Liam Neeson standing there than Chuck Norris. Liam Neeson's huge in real life, isn't he? He's quite tall and he does look pretty intimidating. But Chuck Norris, I mean, I'd probably just end up saying to Chuck Norris, hey, didn't you get bitten by a snake? And then after 20 days, the snake died. You know, all those Chuck Norris facts would just come in your head. Dr. Andy, my uncle loves Star Wars. Some Iranian guy says, hey, show your face, coward. I don't know what your problem is, man. You're always taking the piss out of me. What's your problem? Relax, calm down. We're all friends here. JDR, hi, hello. David Salgado, favorite Ridley Scott movie? Well, I mean, as I mentioned, I'm a huge fan of the Alien saga, the Alien franchise, so it would have to be Alien maybe. Actually, no, you know. I don't. Yeah, I would say Blade Runner. Yeah, Blade Runner is my favorite Ridley Scott film. Then maybe Alien, and then The Duelist. So his first 3 films are my 3 favorite films of his. But then again, he's also done Gladiator, hasn't he? and he's also done American Gangster. And some of his recent films, and of course, he has been hit and miss. His whole career is hit and miss, but he has done some brilliant films. Blade Runner, to answer your question, yeah, Blade Runner is my favorite Ridley Scott movie. The Louis89 says, what is your favorite James Cameron movie? Probably a hard choice. Yes, that is a hard choice because this guy is a brilliant film director. All of his films, I mean, I haven't seen Piranha 2, but obviously we're not going to count that as a James Cameron film. I like all of his films. My favorite would be, I mean, I've got a really, really soft spot for The Abyss. I really enjoy that film, and I just wish there were more films that explored the deep sea. The deep sea is so scary, you know, and there's so much we don't know about it, you know. But the characterization, the character interaction in that film, there's so much love in that film. You know, the film ultimately is about aliens, but the aliens were the least interesting part of the film. You had the natural catastrophes and the fact that they were stuck there. You know, when the water comes flowing in and all that, which seems like a precursor to James Cameron's Titanic. You had the beef between the characters, and you know, when all that tension happens and the Russians and all. But it's just a brilliant film. I love it. I probably wouldn't put it as my favorite James Cameron though, because obviously this is the same guy that made Terminator 2 and Aliens. And with me, it just flip flops between the two of them. I watch Terminator 2 and I say, right, this is my favorite James Cameron film. I watch Aliens and remember the film that got me into movies in the first place, and I say, no, this is my favorite James Cameron movie. But if you want a definite concrete answer, I'd say Aliens, seeing as though that was my initial gateway into cinema. Thomas asks, do you think the Many Saints movie will deal with social justice warrior topics, SJW topics? Don't think so, but since race riots are part of the story, I think it will. I don't think so. You know, there seems to be a consensus that the movie's going to be political, that you can't make The Sopranos in the I was going to say 21st century, but you can't make Sopranos in 2020. But I disagree because, well, first of all, they came up with the story and they filmed everything. Maybe not all of the film, but they filmed it before all these race riots started. So whilst there'll be similarities, perhaps they'll play on the similarities, but it's not going to be a case of, right, oh, we need to change things up because, you know, race riots are happening now. I don't think that'll be the case. But, I mean, it's led by David Chase. You know, David Chase doesn't care. You know, he's... even people say The Sopranos wouldn't be made today. But if they made it on HBO and it stayed the way it is, you know, I think that complaint is overblown. I do think you could make The Sopranos today, you know. See, I'm thinking to myself, because I'm trying to think of examples, but even things like Game of Thrones, they ended up going down the political correct route, didn't they, in later seasons? But, I mean, David Chase doesn't care about all this. He probably doesn't even know that people are bickering between, you know, social justice warrior issues online. He's just had an idea for a film in his head, and he's gone out and made it. Will it have topics and aspects of race in it? Yes, it will. You know, that's a given, because he's mentioned that already. But that, just because a movie is about race or has elements of it that are about race, that doesn't make it a social justice warrior movie. You know, sometimes people need to calm down with this whole thing that, you know, if they just see a black guy in a film, oh, you know, political correctness gone mad. You know, I know, guys. You know, I know I'm in the same boat as you guys. You know, we all hate it when films go politically correct, but you know, there's a balance. Not we shouldn't just start screaming it, you know, randomly. You know, like you say that De Niro movie, for example, A Bronx Tale. You know, it's one of the finest gangster films out there, especially because it was told from the working man's point of view. It added a different dynamic. It told a story from a citizen's point of view, a normal person that grew up in a gangster neighborhood. If that came out today, I think people would complain that it's too politically correct, that it's all social justice warrior themes. You know, the guy They're denouncing the gangster lifestyle. You know, the little boy who grows up when he's a teenager, he has a black girlfriend, and there's tensions between the Italians and the blacks. You know, things like that. You know, people would say that that's politically correct, or you know, social justice warrior stuff, but it wasn't, was it? And that's the same kind of thing, possibly, that the many saints of Newark will touch upon. So yeah, I don't think, you know, I think people, I think what we more need to worry about is whether the many saints of Newark will be good, not whether it will be politically correct, because that's the bigger and more important question, and the question that has more varying answers. Killing Them Softly was a great movie, says JDR. Yeah, I liked it. You know, it was. I wish that we saw. I wish that we get more gangster movies like that. You know, because obviously the Meyer Lansky movie's coming out. We've got Mobtown, which was based on a true story. We've got Gotti, which is based on a true story. The Irishman, which is based on a true story. All these films are going for, you know, the big epic kind of vibe in most cases. But I like films that are small scaled. That, you know, they're not trying to, you know, change the world in the space of 2 hours or so. But, you know, they're just telling a fine little story, and that's what Killing Them Softly does. Stephen Butterfield asks, why do you think people are so interested in mafia films? Well, you tell me. You know, are you interested in mafia movies? Why do you like them? I know I like them because, I mean, first of all, I like. It could be a case of, you know, it's not even specifically that they're mafia films. It's just the fact that they're great movies, you know. But the mafia is something that intrigues a lot of us, you know, a lot of us guys, because, you know, it's just a gateway, it's just a peek of these films into a lifestyle of, you know, debauchery and unchecked vulgarity, but also unchecked freedom. You know, these guys can do whatever they want essentially. But, you know, there's, you know, with the Coppola's films, Scorsese's films, there's also the morality aspect, isn't there? The fact that, you know, the whole rise and fall template, the fact that some of these guys end up regretting what they do, like Frank Sheeran in The Irishman, or that, you know, their past catches up with them, like Henry Hill in Goodfellas. You know, you got characters, great characters. Some of the best characters in cinema have been from gangster films, like Michael Corleone. You know, you could just write thousands of essays on him. And, you know, there's so many reasons to love gangster films. But, you know, the reason why you might love Once Upon a Time in America might be a completely different reason to why you love Goodfellas, because they're both made in completely different styles. They concern different kinds of stories. So yeah, I mean, gangster movie or even mafia film, that is actually a much broader subgenre than a lot of non-mafia movie fans give credit for. You know, there's a wide spectrum of crime films, and they're also very different. And ultimately, you know, some people might not want to admit this, or might find it uncomfortable to admit this, but it's cool, isn't it? You know, we grew up. It's just like Henry Hill. That's one of the reasons why Goodfellas is so amazing, because it's so easy to relate to Henry Hill. You know, you watch these gangsters or uncles and older brothers or people in school. If you know people like these, you know, guys that end up being the bullies in the playground and end up going to real life crime. And a lot of the times as a kid, you envy them, don't you? You want to be like them. You want to be tough. You want people to move out of the way when you walk down the street. Guns are cool. Drugs are cool. Swearing is cool. Violence is cool. And whilst most of us grow up, an element of that remains, doesn't it? In our psyche, I think. So the gangster films kind of tap into that. Orion Woodfin says, "Hey, I just saw one of your posts about Harvey Keitel as Meyer Lansky that I didn't know they're making a movie about it. Do you know what's the plot of the story?" Well, there's not a lot of details about the film at the moment. We know who's directing it. We know who's starring in it. Not a lot of big names. Keitel's the only really big name. But the general gist of the story is that an older Meyer Lansky, played by Keitel, basically tells his story to someone. Funnily enough, similar to The Irishman, and apparently it's going to be a very extravagant tale. Loads of different crazy stories. Because obviously, Maya Lansky lived such a eventful life, didn't he? And it's just going to be him telling his story to someone. He's not going to be playing Lansky in his prime. He's only going to be playing the older Lansky. So Keitel might not be in the film as much as you think. Perhaps, who knows? The actor is only as good as the script. Would you agree with this statement? Asked the Dabbing King. In general, yes, conventionally speaking, but not always. You know, even if we stick to crime films and stick to Scorsese, most of these actors, a lot of these actors in Scorsese's films, they've just gone off script, haven't they? They've kind of done their own thing. Like they say that on Casino, Scorsese told De Niro and Pesci where he wanted their conversations to start, where he wanted them to finish, but he left the middle to themselves. So, I mean, in that case, the actor is definitely not as good as his script. He's good independent of the script, you know. But in general, yeah, the actor is only as good as what he's given on the piece of paper, or what he's supposed to say and do. But many a time the actor goes above and beyond the script. JDR says, sorry, but that's like saying if we didn't have Jesus, we wouldn't have religion. What is that in reference to? Is that something I said? Where are we? He also says your favorite performance by Daniel Day-Lewis. There Will Be Blood, I'd say. A magnificent actor, isn't he? My Left Foot was a fantastic physical performance. He was a fantastic pantomime villain in Gangs of New York. But There Will Be Blood is one performance that I just found stunning. It was like, this is a real person, one of the many times, or perhaps the apex of the times that he managed to convince me. I'm not watching a film, I'm not watching an actor dress up and read lines of a script. I am seeing a real person go about his day-to-day life. And that perhaps is the greatest praise you can give an actor, because that ultimately is what they're trying to achieve. The Dabbing King says, you've developed a lot of enemies, Niranta. They are coming, but don't give in. A face reveal is not what we need. I don't think I've got a lot of enemies. I think what I've tried to do, whether consciously or not, I'm not sure, but I think I'm pretty professional on YouTube. I don't make emotional videos. Something doesn't happen in the movie world. Like, say for example, when Joe Pesci was not going to be in The Irishman, I didn't make a video where I was screaming and shouting and ranting and raving. I think the kind of videos you make attract a certain kind of audience, and because I've been relatively normal, if that makes sense, in comparison to a lot of people on YouTube, not focusing on clickbait and reactionary videos and emotional videos and talking really loudly and all this kind of stuff. It attracts people who are like-minded, people who are mature, people who have interest in mature movies, and because of that, I don't notice a lot of fighting and immaturity in the comment section. There's just one or two trolls I have on my channel, but 15,000 subscribers and 3 or 4 trolls, that's a pretty good running, I'd say. Orion Woodfin says, on Killers of the Flower Moon, who do you want to play the role of Tom White? My opinion that Harrison Ford or Harvey Keitel play the role. Well, I mean, I think if you're taking age into account, and age is an important part of the movie, which I think it is for the book, then I'd say Harrison Ford and Harvey Keitel would be too old for the roles. I know that sounds rich when you consider De Niro is playing a character who he's about 20 or 30, maybe even 30 years old. I think William Hale was about 40, wasn't he? And De Niro's 76. So yeah, big difference there. But one of the things with Tom White is, by the way, the investigator. So he's not going to be the main character. I covered this in a few videos. Originally, Leonardo DiCaprio was going to play him. He's the investigator who's trying to find out why all these murders of these Native Americans is happening. Now he's not the main character, but even still, he's going to be in the film. And now that DiCaprio is not playing him, it's been opened up essentially. So who can play him? But for me personally, he has to be someone around about DiCaprio's age, maybe even younger. Because obviously it depends on what themes Scorsese wants to explore and tackle, but part of the film is the kind of passing of time and the change of culture. He was Tom White was a kind of cowboy caught out in the new world of suits and boots. So, see, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but there could be a huge number of actors, even maybe an unknown actor, or an actor that I would prefer an actor that Scorsese hasn't worked with. A good, strong, solid actor that Scorsese hasn't made a movie with. But I think one of the most important things is that he looks right for the time period. I don't want someone with a modern looking face. But yeah, if it's the case of Tom White isn't that important in the movie, which I think he will be, but if he's not important in the movie, his age is not important in the movie, anything like that, then yeah, Harrison Ford or Harvey Keitel, the Scorsese regular, who knows, The Louis89 says, you like Italia westerns and you know Bud Spencer and Terence Hill. Do you know the western Ace High? It's with Spencer Hill and Eli Wallach. Really good. Try if you haven't seen it. No, I haven't heard of that. Obviously, I know Bud Spencer and Terence Hill. They've made a movie with Eli Wallach. Eli Wallach is the guy who played the ugly in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Tuco Wallace. Tuco, Rodrigo, Juan Maria Morales, something like that. Tuco Benedicto, whatever. I've just embarrassed myself, haven't I? But yeah, let me check that. Let me just quickly Google that. Ace High. So you're saying it's worth watching, is it? Yeah. If I can find it, that's the big thing with spaghetti westerns, isn't it? It's hard to find them. So a recently escaped bandit forms an unlikely alliance with two bounty hunters and an acrobat to get revenge against the people who framed him. Yeah, interesting. That's a good lineup. Eli Wallach, Terence Hill, and Bud Spencer. Awesome. Thanks for the recommendation. Stinkfoot23 says, what did you think of the Warren Beatty film Bugsy? I haven't seen it. I've had the intention to watch it. I said this in the last live stream as well, that I wanted to watch it. I was going to watch it, but I still haven't got around to watching it yet. And funny enough, I literally just downloaded it about an hour ago. Just before I started this live stream, I thought to myself, you know what, I'm going to watch this now. I'm going to download it and watch it soon. It's got such a fine cast, hasn't it? Ben Kingsley, Harvey Keitel, who was nominated for an Oscar, Warren Beatty. It was made about Ennio Morricone did the music as well. My favorite film composer. So there's a lot to love potentially. But yeah, what did you guys think of it? I haven't seen it. One of the rare mainstream big gangster movies that I haven't seen. What did you guys think of it? The Dabbing King says, can I just say this community is wow, thank you. I look forward to these lives weekly. I've been suffering a lot with depression and your videos help me. Your videos have literally saved my life. Well, thank you so much, Thank you for those kind words. I'm glad that the videos and the channel and this wonderful community, because it is a great community, there's some... all I'm seeing on this live chat is people talking about films, people asking questions about movies, discussing movies. Very few times do we ever get trolls and stuff, and that's just beautiful. It's brilliant. It was one of my dreams when I started the YouTube channel to have a community of people that discuss film. But yeah, I mean, um, I think we're all depressed, aren't we, at the moment, to an extent, with what's going on. There's people who have had family members pass away that haven't been able to attend their funerals. There's been people in hospital who you can't go and visit them because of the restrictions. There's been people even who live in abusive households, and because of the lockdown, they're stuck with their abuser. So yeah, there's a lot going on, and a lot of introspection, retrospection, a lot of creative outlets that we need. A lot of different stuff that people need to start doing to help them with their depression. And sometimes even you have to go and see a specialist. But yeah, if it's actually depression you're suffering with, then you might want to see someone about that, talk to someone about that. I mean, I'm sure us guys, none of us are experts on this live chat, but we'll be happy to help. And if it's a case my videos have actually helped them, I mean, that's such a great compliment. I'm so happy that they've been able to do that, Dabbing King. Alex Spur says, my understanding is Joe Kennedy was in the mob and put his son John in politics to make the mob money and power. When John F. Kennedy won the presidency, he turned against the mob and they killed him. Well, that does seem to be the narrative that many are purporting, isn't it? I mean, I think we know definitely that John F. Kennedy's dad was a bootlegger. He made his money in the criminal world, ironically. John F. Kennedy is... There's a lot of evidence to suggest, he wasn't some squeaky clean American president. He had his fair share of underworld dealings, the whole, Marilyn Monroe thing. There's a lot of stories circulating around him. And we obviously know from history that he went down hard on American organized crime. So I don't think it's crazy to suggest what you've said is true, Alex Spur. It's definitely the narrative that the Irishman goes for, isn't it? Have you ever considered doing a video on the treasure of Sierra Madre, says Stink for 23? I can do if you want. I have seen it already. I saw it years ago. The one with Humphrey Bogart, isn't it? That's a brilliant film. It's about these three guys that go on, is it gold they're after? I can't remember, but some kind of a natural mineral, and it just shows you it's fantastic, because they are guys who've lived a tough life. They work so hard to get the gold, and then around about halfway through the film, when they finally get it, you see just how the greed and the suspicion gets them, how they stay awake at night because they're thinking the next guy is going to steal their cash and all that kind of stuff. That's a really great film, the treasure of Sierra Madre. Okay, where are we? Just scrolling back up. If there was a movie on my life, Dabbing King asks, if there was a movie on your life, who would you cast to play you and why? Man, listen guys, my life is not that interesting, I'm a pretty simple man. I have simple interests. I mean, I guess there are stuff that's happened in my life that could make for a decent film or book, but I don't know. That question's caught me off guard. Dr. Andy says, would you do a movie review on Cape Fear? Yeah, I mean, I was actually planning on doing a retro review. So yeah, I mean, obviously my reviews, by the way, if you don't know, they're split between movie reviews, which are films I watched for the first time, and retro reviews, who I watch a film I've already seen. And I was going to do a retro review of Cape Fear, but I didn't get around to it. But yeah, I think somewhere down the line I am going to review Cape Fear, Scorsese's one. Stephen Butterfield says for spaghetti westerns you can go to a channel called Gringo Western Movies. Yeah, I'm subscribed to that. I'm actually subscribed to it, so I'm guessing it's on there. Then I'll have a look then. But yeah, I mean it's quite amazing, isn't it? How there's a channel that's got HD westerns of westerns that most people never heard of, and somehow they've managed to, I don't know how they do it. I wonder how they've gone about it. If it's there's an official license for them or something that channel's got. What are your thoughts on Marvel? Asks Stephen Butterfield. I'm so with Marvel. You know, the crowd pleasers, the conveyor belt movies in general. I've not got an interest in them in general. I don't go out of my way to watch Marvel films. The ones I have seen, I have enjoyed though. You know, it's kind of funny to be honest, but it's not an area of cinema that I have an interest in. You know, I liked Captain America movies, the Iron Man movies, all the ones I've seen I enjoyed, most of them. But I just don't really. It's not my kind of. It's not my cup of tea. I do want to see the those two Avengers films, the Endgame and Infinity War, just to see how they went about it. That they provided a climax and a conclusion to what was about a 10 film run or something like that. But to do it justice, you have to see the rest of them, and that's the daunting prospect for me. Orion Woodfin says, "My name is Orion, like the constellation stars. Orion, is it? Um, I've been noticing that you've been misspelling my name, which is okay. I'm used to it. There are times people call me Oreo. Oreo. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I'm terrible. I'm absolutely terrible with names and pronunciation, especially for someone who's got an interest in the Italian American mafia. Because I mean, just go and check out. I mean, check out a video I did on Goodfellas called something like "Why was Jimmy not punished for killing Billy Bats?" And you'll see there's hundreds of comments talking about my spelling, my pronunciation. I call the Lucchese family a famous crime family, one of the 5 big New York mafia families. I call them the Lucchese family, one of my all-time great blunders on YouTube. But I do that a lot, you know. I should do it. The thing is, when I'm doing research, it never enters my head. I never even comprehend the fact that this name I'm looking at might not be pronounced the way I think it is. Like, like the whole Lucchese thing, it just says Lucchese, and I never could have fathomed that, it's actually pronounced a completely different way. I did the same thing with some of my Killers of the Flower Moon videos. There's one I did on William Hale where a lot of people have been telling me that it's not pronounced Osage Nation, it's Osage. But yeah, I did that a lot, so sorry about that. Stinkfoot23 says, "What is your favorite use of music by Scorsese in a film?" Oh man, there's loads, isn't there? Even in his last film, The Irishman, there's so many great uses. Like that one, for example, where I probably shouldn't say this because I've got a video coming out soon where I talk about my top 15 favorite scenes of The Irishman, and I don't want to give it away what number this is, but one of my absolute favorite scenes of the film, which does involve music, is when Hoffa and Peggy are dancing, and the movie is all this music is all slow and lovely. Got Silvio Dante's doing the music. The camera is slow and graceful. Everybody's having a great time, and then the camera just flips. It just moves really quick, and then you see all these deadly gangsters: Fat Tony, Russell Buffalino, Tony Pro, and they're all sitting there looking as sinister as ever, and they're talking about this man they're looking at, Jimmy Hoffa, dancing. He's in complete bliss, and they're talking about killing him, perhaps even deciding right there and there that they're killing him. But the use of music, which is so joyful and blissful, it creates a nice kind of oxymoronic tone. Scorsese is very good at doing that. But there's loads of great instances of music in Scorsese's film. There's I'll tell you my favorite. You've asked my favorite. You put me in the spot, and I should answer it instead of just avoiding all these questions that you guys ask me. My favorite use of music is probably the House of the Rising Suns in Casino. You know that montage near the end of the film that starts from where the FBI guys come to De Niro's house, Sam S. Rothstein, and they show him the pictures of his wife cheating with Nikki, and the music starts there, and it's just fantastic. It just shows you all the mob guys being taken down, the entire Chicago, Las Vegas mafia just collapsing, and it's just beautiful the way it's shot, edited, filmed, and timed to the music. So yeah, that's probably my favorite use of music in a Scorsese film. Whoa, I'm really behind on the chat. Hold on, where are we? I'm gonna try and get through these answers quickly now so I can catch up. But David Salgado asks thoughts on Casablanca. Yeah, Casablanca is a classic. I loved it. Great film. Nice little town by Peter Lorre as well. Where are we? The Treasure of Sierra Madre is one of my favorite films ever, says Stinkfoot. Yeah, I mean, fantastic, isn't it? What's your favorite Iron Reitman movie, says David Salgado. I don't know who that is. Sorry to disappoint you. Let me just quickly look him up. Maybe I have seen my film of his, but I don't think so. I'm just looking now. Just a second. So I have seen a few. I've seen Twins. I don't really remember it. I've seen Kindergarten Cop, which I think is a really fun film. That's about it, really. Yeah, I haven't seen any others. So yeah, Kindergarten Cop is my answer. The Dabbing King asks, could you do a video where you recommend a series of films to watch? Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. You know, just to kind of 10 films you should check out, something like that, just to throw a few ideas out there, float a few ideas. That's a good idea. I'm gonna write that down, just so I remember. The thing that's always put me off doing something like that is thinking, you know, who's gonna care about my recommendations? You know, who am I to recommend a film, if that makes sense? But yeah, I mean, if you want me to make a video out of that, I can do one. Could you recommend me some good black and white movies? It's funny you should say that. I've got a video coming out soon where I give 3 black and white films everybody who's never seen a black and white film should watch. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Alright, let me just sort out the chat, make sure because I'm really far behind at the moment. I don't know if you guys can hear, but I've got things going on behind me. You know, I'm not actually in a quiet place like last time. So, hence the big breaks in me talking. I do apologize for that, by the way. I'll be back in 30 seconds. Just one second, guys. Yeah, again, sorry guys about those big breaks that I'm taking. I've just got some things going on in the background. Nikki Santoro says, what are your thoughts on Boardwalk Empire? I liked it. I've reviewed all the seasons except season 1, I think, if I remember correctly, on my channel. It's a show that I enjoyed. I did like it. Had some great characters, some great storylines, but I feel it never lived up to its potential. It never got to where it could have potentially did. Even from a historical point of view, there's a lot of things that were left out, like the St. Valentine's Day massacre from Al Capone, for example. They didn't show the whole thing with him going to court for tax evasion. The Atlantic City Conference, which I cannot believe they missed out. Arnold Rothstein's death was off screen. I mean, I know it was hard for them to fit it in with the time jump in season 5. But yeah, I mean, it was good, but my overall gist was that I felt like it was building up to something. It was, it was going to, it felt like a precursor to a great series, but that great series was never made. It felt like it was building and building and building, and then once it just started to get really good, they cancelled it. So yeah, a good series, but something that never lived up to never really lived up to its potential, I don't think. The Dabbing King talking about the Avengers movies. Wow, the philosophy of Thanos is something else. I'm sure you would enjoy. Really good fleshed out movie. Yeah, I've heard about that. I've heard that Infinity War, the way that Thanos justifies what he's doing is really interesting, and that is something that I wanna check out. Thoughts on The Hustler, says David Salgado. Yeah, that's a great film. Paul Newman's movie, made years ago. The one that Scorsese made a sequel to, called Color of Money, which is also a good film as well. Made in the same kind of style as Goodfellas and Casino, but not a gangster film, a hustler movie, pool movie. But the original is brilliant. The Louis89 says to Stephen Butterfield, thanks for sharing this channel. Didn't hear of it until now. Oh, well, thanks Louis for liking this channel. Thanks Stephen for sharing it. Yeah, guys, I mean, it'll be a big help if you guys, I mean, I don't like doing the whole, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. I can't do that kind of I can't stand doing that kind of stuff. I want to be real with you guys, up front, honest. I don't want to play a character, but I know I am missing out on potentially getting more subscribers and views by not doing that kind of stuff, because that kind of stuff does work, just like with, pulling stupid faces and on your thumbnail, things like that. But yeah, I mean, if you guys like my videos, share them and things like that, that would massively help out the channel. So yeah, I mean, whatever you guys want to do, So how long have we been going for? So, oh wow, 1.5 hours already. Wow, so there goes my my plan to make this video just half an hour long. So yeah, anyway, where are we? What are your thoughts on the Francis Ford Coppola Dracula from Stinkfoot? I haven't seen it. I've been meaning to watch it for a long time. I saw just few bits and pieces. It looks like a visually very good movie. I heard Gary Oldman's really good, and I heard Keanu Reeves is really bad. But no, I haven't seen it. What do you think of it? Is it worth watching? Okay, Stephen Butterfield has thrown a spanner into the works. There's a plot twist, guys. Plot twist. He says, "What do you mean? I did not share this channel with anyone." Okay. Your opinion on Citizen Kane? Yeah, amazing movie. Even if you put aside the technical things it did that pushed forward the film industry, if you put all that to aside, just from the basis of a character study, it's a brilliant film. Really good movie. Really sad as well. The loss of humanity is perhaps ultimately what the film is about. Where are we? Yeah, House of the Rising Sun montage is brilliant. Yeah, favorite British film says Stephen Butterfield. Oh, that's difficult to pin down. You know, that's the whole country. Not sure, to be honest. You know, there's some films which you assume are American, which actually turn out to be British. But I'll tell you who springs to mind. Guy Ritchie. And I'll tell you what film springs to mind with Guy Ritchie's filmography is Snatch. By the way, have you guys seen Ritchie's latest film, The Gentleman? I saw it and I reviewed it on the channel if you want to check it out. I really enjoyed that. It harked back to the old kind of gangster movies he used to make, like Lock, Stock and Snatch, and it was made in that style. And I really enjoyed it. Some people say it's style over substance, but that Guy Ritchie is style over substance, you know. But that's a film worth checking out if you guys wanna watch a fast-paced, stylish, suave gangster film. The Gentleman, made in released in 2020, I think. Have you seen? Says Alex Spur. Have you ever seen Road to Prediction? Is that what it's called? I thought it was Perdition or something. Hold up. I'm sure it's called Road to... Okay, what is it? Yeah, Road to Perdition, sorry. Yeah, starring Tom Hanks and Paul Newman. It's an underrated gangster movie in my opinion. I have seen it. I saw it ages ago. I don't really remember much of it though. I remember enjoying it. I remember the whole father and son thing, where they were, you know, I remember the one really funny scene where Tom Hanks does a bank robbery or something, and he gets in the car, and the car is just ambling away. But yeah, that's one that I need to rewatch. I think I don't remember much. I remember it's a brilliantly looking film, a gorgeous film, but I don't really remember too much of it, to be honest. Okay, where are we? I'm lost a minute. I'm just scrolling down. Dr. Lurie has explained himself and saying, I mean your recommendation. I don't know the right word in English. And Stephen Butterfield has replied in this riveting back and forth. Don't remember that. Maybe you said something, Stephen. Maybe you mentioned a movie or something that the Louis 89 has caught on about. Orion, is it? Orion. Aside from American movies, have you ever watched movies from different countries? Yeah, I watch all sorts. I like spaghetti westerns, as I mentioned, which are obviously Italian productions. I like giallos, which again are Italian horror films. I tend to like Italian films quite a lot. I've not seen too many European films. You know, French movies, German films. I've seen bits and pieces here and there. It's mainly Italian films. But aside from Europe, obviously, I was born in the UK, so I've seen a lot of British films. I've watched a few South American films here and there. I've started to watch a few Middle Eastern films, you know, Turkish productions, Iranian movies. I've seen a few films from the subcontinent, you know, Pakistani movies, Indian movies, Chinese films. Yeah, I've seen a fair bit. I don't think I've seen much from Africa. I don't think I've seen many African movies. But yeah, I've seen a fair bit. Mainly American films, I think, like most of us. Okay, guys, I'll bite. Stephen Butterfield, can you block Uganda Knuckles or just answer his question? Uganda Knuckles, I'm not going to answer that question because if I start answering questions like that, it's going to start a precedent, isn't it? So yeah, please relax. Don't ask that question again because you're pissing people off now. So yeah, I'm going to have to block you because, you know, Steven's getting pissed, Dabikins getting pissed. What can I do? Where are we? How many Scorsese movies do you own in your collection? Says David Salgado. I don't really have much of a physical collection of movies. I keep a few films on my hard drive. I have Netflix, a few subscriptions here and there, so that's mainly where I watch and rewatch films. But in general, I don't really have much physical copies of movies. In a perfect world, yeah, I'd love to go into what do they call it? They call it man caves, don't they? I don't like that word. That sounds weird, but having kind of room in your house or your basement or something where it's just you and your movies and just looking at your collection of films. But ultimately, it's expensive, takes up space, and if you can get films on a hard drive, thousands of film on a hard drive that's no bigger than your finger or your hand, why not? Alex Spur says they shouldn't have killed off Jimmy Darmody and Jip Rossetti. The show got boring after season 3. Well, each to his own, I guess. I actually wasn't that much of a big fan of Darmody. I know he was really popular, but I thought the series it was kind of restricting itself for Darmody. Like, he was trying to make him the protagonist. Once he was killed, it was like, the birdcage was open and now it could be free. That was my take. And like you say, Jip Rossetti was a brilliant villain. But I'm in the camp. I actually am one of the people that liked what was his name again? Valentine, was it? The black dude. I liked him as a villain. And later seasons gave more attention to Al Capone, who was a really good, interesting character. Lucky Luciano as well. But yeah, I mean, funnily enough, I'm probably the exact opposite to you, Alex. I probably think the later seasons, apart from season 5, obviously, which was a bit weird, but the later seasons were more interesting than the first two. Cal L, is that an L? I can't see, the writing's too small. Cal L says, I like your channel, bro. Keep up the good work. Thanks a lot, man. Thanks a lot for the kind words. Oh shit, Stephen Butterfield, Alex, thanks for the spoilers, mate. I was planning on watching that. Yeah, sorry, me as well, because I've just been talking about spoilers for Boardwalk Empire, and I haven't realized that it never even came to my head that some of you might not have seen it. Yeah, we should get a spoiler policy on this chat. Maybe before you guys, me as well, when I'm talking, before any of you guys say something that includes spoilers, maybe just type in capital spoiler alert or something like that. I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because you assume people have seen things. You just can never. I mean, the safest way is just write spoiler alert, I guess. But yeah, sorry about that, Stephen. But I mean, what Alex has mentioned, I mean, I know it's not going to be that much of a constellation, but what Alex has mentioned is not too major. Boardwalk Empire is one of those series that has like a villain of the weeks, villain of the weeks, but obviously for seasons. So there's a main villain for each season. It kind of works like that. So you know that this character who's appeared in the first episode of this season or that season is going to snuff it at the end. I know it's not much of a consolation, but he hasn't ruined the show for you, yeah, if that makes sense. Have you watched Gomorrah? Says Cal L. I haven't. I do want to see it. I've heard a lot about it. People say that it's better than Boardwalk, and some even say it's better than The Sopranos. But yeah, that's one I want to watch. I don't think I've got it on Netflix. You guys, I think you guys have got it on Netflix in the US, haven't you? But I was looking for it here in the UK, but I don't think we've got it here. So yeah. Where are we? Stephen Butterfield giallos are great. Yeah, they are, They've got so much style to them, haven't they? Stinkfoot 23, you're absolutely right about Dracula, but it's totally worth a watch. Yeah, sure, I'll watch it. Are you a David Lynch fan? If so, have you seen Wild at Heart, and what did you think of it? I haven't seen Wild at Heart. I haven't seen enough of David Lynch to say I'm a fan. I've seen the Elephant Man, and I've seen, what's the other one? See, that's the thing. I know I keep saying this, but my mind keeps going blank, and I keep forgetting the names and dates of movies. Something that I'm actually quite good at. When I turn this mic on, and I know I'm live, something in the back of my head is just bleeding the intelligence out of my head. Yeah, Mulholland Drive, that one. I've seen that one. I like what I've seen from him. It's just one of those where I've just not got around to watching all of his most of his films. Where are we? Have you seen The Big Shave? Cal L. Yeah, I have. Scorsese's little short film, his little Vietnam War allegory. You know, you've brought something to my. You've just reminded me of something. I've got a video coming out soon. I don't remember when. I've got it scheduled. Talking about mirrors in Scorsese's film, just a little bit of analysis. And I mentioned The Big Shave, but have you guys noticed that Scorsese has a lot of characters who talk to themselves in the mirror? You know, you got The Big Shave, but that's a bit different. You know, that's a short film. There's the famous one in Taxi Driver where, you know, the talking to me one, with De Niro standing in front of the mirror. There's one scene in Raging Bull where Jake LaMotta looks in the mirror and he recites Marlon Brando's line from his monologue from On the Waterfront. There's a scene in Shutter Island in the beginning where Leonardo DiCaprio is he's convincing himself, you know, it's on your water, and he's feeling sick. There's a scene at the end of The Aviator, you know, The Way of the Future, and there's one or two more if I remember correctly. And yeah, I mean, I've got a video coming out about that, and it's just a bit of analysis in that you would imagine people talking to themselves in the mirror are a chance for the audience to put our ear to the wall and listen in on some introspection from the characters, listen to what's going on underneath the layers and what they're feeling at their heart. That's where you see the real person come out, you know, behind all the anger and the ego. Ironically though, the irony with Scorsese's films is that what I've come to find is that in those scenes where those characters are talking to themselves in the mirror, where you'd expect that you're going to hear these characters with clarity of mind, the irony is that the scenes where they're talking to themselves in the mirror, those characters are actually going doolally. They're actually they're more. See if my brain's gone blank again. But they're not in the right state of mind. They're not in the right frame of mind in those scenes, which is ironic. You know, I don't want to give spoilers away, but I mean, I'm guessing most of you guys have seen Scorsese's films. But I mean, I don't want to give spoilers away. But certain things, every mirror scene of those that I just mentioned is linked to something wrong with the state of mind in the characters' heads, and ironically, the mirror scenes themselves actually enhance the character's dodgy state of mind. I mean, like say Taxi Driver, for example, the scene where he says, "You're talking to me." You know, a character looks at himself in the mirror. That's one of the, you know, the most basic filmmaking techniques, filmmaking methods of allowing us to hear what's going on in a character's head. But here it reveals that he's just a complete psycho, and it spurs him on to do something completely crazy in the next couple of scenes. But yeah, I mean, I go into more detail in the video. I've got a video coming out called reflecting on Scorsese's use of mirrors, something like that. So yeah, keep an eye out, guys. Stephen Butterfield asks, what did you think of the movie A Bullet for the General? I haven't seen that one. That's one spaghetti western, highly rated spaghetti western that I haven't seen. That's the one with Klaus Kinski, isn't it? Yeah, but yeah, I haven't seen that one. Where are we? Orion says, I watch some Filipino movies because I am part Filipino. The movie I love the most is Harena Luna. Harena Luna and I think you might like it. It's a war film. This is a true story as well. Well, let's check it out. Let me add it to my watch list as part of your recommendations. Orion, what was it called? Harana Luna. I know why. So, Harana Luna, 2015. Set during the Philippine-American War, a short-tempered Filipino general faces an enemy more formidable than the American army, his own treacherous countrymen. Oh, sounds interesting. I've never seen a Filipino movie, but yeah, thanks for the recommendation. Yeah. You think video game on Scorsese movie, Color of Money game, and Hugo game? What? Do you mean that? Do I think a video game could be made on it? I mean, yeah. Color of Money is a pool game, isn't it? So I guess you could. I guess there'd be no point doing it now because it's an old film. But I guess you could, do a cash in on the movie and create like a mobile game. But it would just be a pool game, wouldn't it? With Paul Newman and Tom Cruise's face plastered over. A Hugo game? I mean, I guess some kind of platform game of a little boy who lives in a clock tower or something like that. Who knows? I don't think they're the best ideas for movies though. Adam says, "Scream like that, Scream from Election." Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that the intro on my channel is from a movie called Election, and it might be that it's been used in that film because a lot of people have mentioned it, but it's actually from an Ennio Morricone soundtrack for the film Navava Joe, made in 1966, a spaghetti western. David Salgado says, "Do you think Scorsese should do a full TV show, as in direct all the episodes?" Well, it depends, Depends on what he's interested in. It's like, for example, that film that he was going to do, the serial killer film about H.H. Holmes, The Devil in the White City, with Leonardo DiCaprio. That's going to be a TV show now. And he's not going to be directing it, apparently. Or at least, maybe it's one of those where he directs the first episode and leaves the rest to somebody else. But if there was an announcement that Scorsese was directing 10 episodes of Devil in the White City, that would be huge, that'd be amazing. But yeah, I mean, it'd be great to see Scorsese do a TV show. But he's primarily a cinema man, isn't he? I don't think we're going to see him go down the TV route. Adam says, "Is Motherless Brooklyn worth watching? It's on HBO Max." I keep scrolling past it. You can check out my review on it. I've done a review on the movie. All my reviews are non-spoiler unless I point out in the review that there's spoiler. It was okay. It's worth watching, but it's one of those movies that you're gonna forget you watched it. You're gonna forget it exists. Just a couple of days after you've seen it, there's creative decisions made that I didn't feel served a purpose. Like the main character having Tourette's, for example, where he blurts out loads of random stuff, and it does make the film funny. But I'm not sure if that was the intention. But the big mystery, the big reveal, because obviously it's made in the vein of classic noir films, isn't it? It's a neo-noir movie. The big reveal isn't really that revealing. It's not. I think I like the style of the film, the look of the film, all of that. But I think the story could have been better. But I mean, don't take my word for it. If you want to check it out, check it out. But I thought it was decent. I didn't think it was all that. I think I rated it a 6, maybe 6 out of 10. All right, Uganda Knuckles, you are gonna have the honor of being the first person blocked on this live chat because you are starting to post spoilers. So yeah, you know what you're doing. You're just trying to piss off people. There's people here who haven't seen it. So unlucky, mate. We're all men here. We're all mature. So let's try and act mature, yeah. Cal L says Sopranos is my fave, but I believe Gomorrah is a masterpiece series. Easily my second. Gomorrah is so ruthless. You never know what is going to happen. Every character is undesirable. You're making it sound amazing. You know that. See. I would have started watching it by now. You know that. I started watching a few series. I started watching Peaky Blinders, for example. But I wanted to watch Gomorrah. That's the one that I wanted to check out because so many people are telling me to watch it. As a fan of crime movies and mafia series, it's just that we don't have it here in the UK on Netflix. I'm gonna have to find another way of watching it. Nobody had redeeming qualities. It makes for a superb show. Yeah, I mean that's it's an underrated aspect of mafia shows and movies, isn't it? You know, one weird complaint I always find is people saying that this movie had no likable characters. That for me is not a valid complaint. You know, not every film has to have likable characters. Look at The Sopranos. You know, who from Tony's personal family, Tony himself, Tony's mafia family, or anybody in that show, who actually was a likable person from the main characters? Nobody really. You know, even someone like Bobby Bacala, you know, no spoilers obviously, but he ends up becoming ends up becoming one of the undesirables, doesn't he? But yeah, I mean that's one of the best shows ever made. So yeah, that actually makes me want to watch it more. The fact that you said nobody has redeeming qualities. David Salgado says, "Do you play video games and board games?" I used to play board games when I was a kid. I play a few on my phone. I was a big fan of video games growing up. I do have a PlayStation 5. Is it PlayStation 5? No, it's PS4, isn't it? What am I thinking? Yeah, but I mean, that reiterates the point. I haven't pulled it out in a long time. I actually, I think about 2 years ago, I bought loads of classic games, well-known games, popular games, with the intention to, play them. You know, because growing up, I didn't really have the cash to buy video games, that kind of stuff. But I just never got around to it because, wife, kids, family, work, YouTube. Maybe if it was a case that I could start making video game videos on YouTube and people start watching them, I could use that to fuel more time, put more time into video games. But the thing is, video games are they're very time consuming, and you have to be there, if that makes sense. You can watch a TV show hiding under the covers of your bed. You can watch a movie in 2 hours, but a book. I love reading, by the way, but obviously reading you can do anyway. But a video game takes time. A decent video game might take 25 hours. So that's the difficulty with me as someone who doesn't have a lot of time. But I don't really play video games, but I would like to. I actually bought the modern generation console a while back because I had a kind of promise in my head where I said that if they ever make a Spider-Man game as good as the Spider-Man 2 game on the PS2 generation, and they make a sequel to Red Dead Redemption, which I loved, I would get a PlayStation 4, and they did both of those things. So I bought them and I played both of them and I love both of them. Adam says, I was just watching The Sopranos. Carmela is just as big of a crook as her husband. Yeah, I mean, I was one of the people that started off the show thinking, Carmela's a nice person. I feel sorry for her. She's married to a murderer, and it's very, very sad that she's locked in this house. And then you watch more of the show and you see that, hang on a minute, she uses her husband's power to get what she wants. She is, just as you say, she's bad. She's just as bad as him. Maybe not just as bad as him. She's not a killer, but she knows what he does. She uses that blood money, that extorted money, the money that's been used on killing people for her own family. And she, as Tony says, in one of their many confrontations, she intentionally blinds herself to it, pretends it doesn't happen, puts it out of the way. It's in the closet. Do you like The Age of Innocence, says David Salgado? Yeah, I like that. It was a good film. Very different, very classy and elegant from Scorsese. Adam says, when do you think the Many Saints of Newark will be released? It's supposed to be released in February, so it would have been coming out next month in September, but they pushed it back to February. We've yet to see whether they're going to push it back further than that, but at the moment, February is when it's coming out. Stephen Butterfield's scariest film you've ever seen. Oh man, I mean, again, I'm going to piss you guys off by not giving you a straight answer, but again, there's so many different types of horror, different ways to get scared. I'm trying to think of a film. The most scariest films for me are not films that jump out at you and give you jump scares. They're films that crawl under your skin, that keep you thinking long after you've seen them. I'm just trying to think of one that did that really effectively. But in general, I don't really watch horror films. I like films like Halloween, Psycho, Friday the 13th. No, sorry, not Friday the 13th. I actually hate Friday the 13th. I like those 80s horror films. I don't know why I mentioned Psycho. I do like Psycho, but that's not an 80s horror film. But you know, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Italian giallo films, because that generation with their cool bad guys, synth soundtracks were, you know, they were just really cool horror films, weren't they? But I can't think of a film that scared the shit out of me. The Exorcist did, but I was about 7 years old when I watched it, so anybody who's 7 is going to get scared the shit out of that film, aren't they? Just plugging the laptop into the charger because it was just about to die. Right, where are we? Lorraine Bracco on Talking Sopranos said she has seen. Oh, really? Cal L says that on, you know, Talking Sopranos, which is the podcast that Steve Schreiber and Michael Impolioli are doing. Two actors who were in The Sopranos. They play Bobby and Christopher, respectively. Kyle L says that Lorraine Bracco, who plays Dr. Melfi, she was on it. And she says she's seen Many Saints of Newark, and it's a masterpiece that belongs with the great gangster movies. It's interesting, isn't it? But, you know, what else is she going to say, you know? But even still, you know, obviously she would praise it, you would think. But she doesn't have any vested interest or bias to praise it, does she? So, I mean, I think we can take her word that she did enjoy it. But yeah, I didn't know that. You know, that's interesting. David Salgado says the only Scorsese movies that are not R-rated: Alice Doesn't Live Here, New York, New York, The King of Comedy and the Age of Innocence, and Hugo. Yep. Yes. Yeah. I mean, it goes to show that, doesn't it? You know, Scorsese is capable of making many different kinds of movies. Cal L says, did you watch the Scorsese series Vinyl? I loved it. Deserved a second series. I didn't watch all of it. I watched Scorsese's episode, which is about 2 hours long. I didn't like it. It was one of the I mean, I want to say worst because you know, he that doesn't really narrow it down because he's made some great stuff, but it's one of the most disappointing things I've seen from Scorsese. I felt it was unfocused, you know. It didn't really have a flow to it, an ebb to it. Maybe I'm just not big on the music scene of the time period. But then I watched the second episode, maybe third, I think, and then just before the halfway mark, I think, I kind of started to lose interest, and it was a case of forcing myself to watch it, you know, if that makes sense. You know, I know you enjoyed it, but and then when the news came out that it was cancelled, I just stopped watching it. Adam is asking, please answer me this. Why did Joe Pesci's character ask Frank Sheeran and De Niro to remove his sunglasses before he got on the plane to go do what he did? That's a good question, you know. It'll probably deserve its own video. There's a fair few reasons that I can think of. The main one that springs to mind for me is that he wanted Sheeran to be ready. You know, it was a kind of it's almost like um, punching someone on the back. You know, like before a rugby match or an American football match or something. Not in that sense that he's trying to pump him up, but in the sense of, you know, get ready. You know, you're on the job now. You know, the glasses could be a signal to Hoffa. You know, he could send a signal to Hoffa that something's wrong, or the very fact that he's wearing glasses in the first place might make Hoffa decide not to get in the car. You know, he's on the job now. You know, take your glasses off. I want to see your eyes. I want to make sure there's no tears in your eyes, there's no emotion in your eyes. And you're not Frank Hoffa's friend anymore. You're not Frank the father. You're Frank the hitman now. So get in the zone, if that makes sense. That's one interpretation I have for it, and that's I think that's one of the more common ones. What do you guys think? Why did Pesci tell Frank Sheeran to take his glasses off before he got on the plane to do the big deed of the film? The Oncoming Storm says, have you seen The Long Good Friday? The best British gangster film, in my opinion. Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? I loved it, especially that amazing ending of the film. Do you like A Bronx Tale? Yes, I loved it. Great film. 40 grand from the bird feeder, and don't deny it again. Yeah, Sopranos is just flooded with amazing lines, isn't it? I mean, it's proven by all these videos you see on YouTube where the comment section is just people quoting lines from the series. But that's brilliant, isn't it? It's amazing. Do you think Robert De Niro should direct another movie? I would watch another De Niro directed film. I think he's got what it takes. But he's not gonna direct another film. He has said that he highly doubts he's gonna make another movie. Have you seen Fight Club? David Salgado asks. Yes, I have. Good movie. Been a long time since I've seen it though. Where are we? Yes, I think if you're into the music, it will appeal to you. I think he means Kalel. I think, are you talking about Gamora? Kalel says to give him the sunglasses back, he wasn't going to get whacked. Maybe to give him sunglasses, or maybe, you know, that's an interesting. So maybe it was a case of Buffalino said to the other mobsters, if Frank Sheeran is wearing glasses, that means take him out as well. I mean, I'm not sure. I wouldn't think that, because I think that'd be playing it too dangerously. You know, they would send a much. They would make sure they knew what the plan was before they started doing that. I mean, what if Sheeran takes his glasses off at the last minute? But I'm not 100% sure what you mean by that. Orion says he knows someone who used to be in the Gambino family. Just one second. He knows someone who used to be in the Gambino family. Sorry, worked with the Gambino family, and he told me that a movie called The Gang. Have you seen it? And he told me it's 100% true. I know about it though. Isn't that the one about the Colombo War? The Colombo family, or was that one of Brian De Palma's earlier films? But the Gang That Couldn't Shoot Straight is one of Goldstone's films, James Goldstone. I haven't seen it though, but I mean, yeah, it's kind of funny if that film is 100% true, because it's a comedy, isn't it? Anyway. David Salgado says, and I forgot about New York Stories, not R-rated Scorsese. Yeah, a lot of people forget New York Stories, don't they? I've actually got a video coming out about it soon. If you guys don't know, there's a movie called New York Stories, and it was directed by, and get this, it was directed by Martin Scorsese, it was directed by Francis Ford Coppola, and it was directed by Woody Allen. But before your minds blow with excitement, they didn't all collaborate to make one movie. It was 3 short films, each directed by each director. And my video basically is a short little review. Scorsese's one is really good. It's about this. It's a typical old style Scorsese movie where he breaks down and explores a character. It's basically just a character study, isn't it, of this painter who his turbulent relationship with this girl he lives with uh, fuels the passion he needs to get his paintings right. Coppola's one was really boring and stupid. Woody Allen's was weird and pretty mildly funny. But yeah, Scorsese's segment of New York Stories is pretty good. But I'll go into it in more detail in the video. Cal L says, I mean that he took the sunglasses so he can give them back when he returns. He's waiting in the car to give his friend the glasses back. Yeah, I mean, that's what happened, but the thing is, I think some people think that there's more significance to it, as in, why would Scorsese leave that in the film if there wasn't some significance to him taking the glasses? I mean, obviously he's going to give them back, obviously, when he comes back. Maybe it's a kind of reassurance to Sheeran. But, yeah, I mean, different people have different interpretations of it. The Irishman is one of those movies that has a lot of scenes that are open to interpretation. Like, for example, that jump cut that happens in the scene where Sheeran phones up Hoffa's widow. I made a video on that called "Why Is There a Weird Jump Cut in This Scene?" And loads of people have different interpretations. Some people, I mean, one of my favorites is that we're hearing this story from Frank Sheeran's point of view, and this memory is particularly painful. So it's a kind of blur for him, and that's why the scene itself is awkwardly filmed with the little jump cut. But that's not even the real reason. The film actually has a practical reason for having that, which is that there were 2 takes of De Niro doing the scene, and they loved his expression where he's holding the phone, which was 1 take, and they loved the part where he talks to Hoffa's widow in 1 take, which was another take, and they couldn't find a way to splice it to make it work together, and Scorsese just said jump cut it because he wanted both. So yeah, I mean, if you didn't know, that's the reason why that weird jump cut is in The Irishman, in the scene where Sheeran phones up Hoffa's wife. Orion says, yeah, it's about the gallows and the Colombo War. Yep. Just give me a second, guys. I'll be back in a minute. Right, I am back. Sorry about that, guys. Like I mentioned, I've got a few things going on in the background, so I'm sorry for keeping on pissing off. I'm coming back every 5 minutes. Where are we? If there is a movie that you want a reboot of, what would it be? Says Orion. I haven't got any particular specific films off the top of my head, but the kind of movies that I want people to remake or reboot are are movies where there was a good idea, but the execution was off. So Hollywood has a habit of remaking films which are good, classic movies, because they're cashing in on the IP, aren't they? The big name, like for example, the Scarface remake that's coming. But for me, I would prefer they remake films that were because of the execution, but the idea was good. But I'll give you a controversial one, a controversial movie that I would want to see remade. You know Akira Kurosawa's Rashomon? I think you could make a good remake out of that. Because the premise of that movie is that a crime has been committed, and then basically in the court or wherever it is, they get the account of each person, and each person's account is slightly different. They tell their version of events. And you could take that premise and you could make a courtroom drama, you could make a sci-fi film, you could make a horror film, a western, crime movie. You could do all sorts with that. That is a good premise, and one that I mean, the samurai films and a lot of them are remakes of each other, aren't they? You know, you've got the classic, one of the classic example of Yojimbo being remade into A Fistful of Dollars. And it just kind of shows that a lot of these stories are universal. They could work as a film in any genre. Cal L says, when I watched The Irishman, I couldn't help notice the dialogue between Frank and Russell and the way they expressed themselves. It mirrored Pesci's and De Niro's real life partnership and their journey. Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the that's part of the very reason why the film was made in the first place, wasn't it? And you just get a sense, especially when De Niro and Pesci are old in the prison, and that scene at Frank Sheeran's appreciation night where Pesci gives him the ring. You get a feeling of their genuine friendship and their warmth with each other. And it is almost a sadness because you know they're both getting old. But again, I mean, like you mentioned, you can feel their real friendship bleed through the celluloid. Lawrence Damiano says, any thoughts on Peckypans or the Wild Bunch, Straw Dogs, and Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid? Older but worth everyone's attention. Thoughts? I've seen The Wild Bunch, which was brilliant. It was a great film, explosive, and if you look into the history of movies at that time, it was a pretty significant western as well, wasn't it? The other two I haven't seen. I've heard a lot about Straw Dogs, about the violence in it, but I haven't seen it. Only The Wild Bunch out of those three films. How come the stream has been going for quite a while? Sorry. How comes Days Times stream goes quiet? Oh, sorry. No, it's not your end. It's me. I've been going away, coming back and forward because there's stuff going on in the background. So, yeah. Sorry about that. Stinkfoot23. Speaking of Yojimbo, what do you think of Yojimbo? I love it. Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? The sequel, Sanjuro, I think it was called. I like that even more. I thought that was even better. What do you think of The Room by Author Tommy Wiseau? How do you pronounce it? Wiseau. I haven't seen it. You know, I do want to watch it. It's it's part pop culture now, isn't it? But anyway. Where are we? David Salgado. Favorite dinosaur? Allosaurus. I've always loved the Allosaurus. Not quite as big as a T-Rex, Not small as a velociraptor, just in the middle. Have you watched James Cagney films? Yeah, I've seen White Heat, classic. I've seen Angels with Dirty Faces, classic. I've seen, what was that Billy Wilder movie where he basically plays like the head of this advertising firm or something called 123. Well, no, let me just check. Well, whatever it was Cagney's last proper film. He retired after it, and he only came back for like a cameo in some other film, I think, if I remember correctly, because he hated making it. But it was a brilliant film. Where are we? Yeah, it was called 123, made in 1961. That was a great film. Um, I've seen The Roaring Twenties as well, and a few other films here and there. You know, this guy was a genuine tough guy, wasn't he, James Cagney? Or obviously the Public Enemy. Actually, no, I haven't seen The Public Enemy. Funnily enough. Have you seen Rise of the Foot Soldier? No, I haven't. David Salgado, I don't think Bringing Out the Dead has been released on Blu-ray. If it hasn't, I don't think it will be, you know, because it doesn't seem there's a following for it. I thought it was a brilliant film. I really liked Bringing Out the Dead. Do you ever watch certain movies and end up feeling so hyped, like you can take on the world, says Dabbing King. Amazing what movies can do to you. Yeah, I mean, movies have power, don't they? They have so much power. You know, you watching a film, probably lying down in bed, feeling half asleep, and then a movie can just make you want to go and do 100 push-ups in a row. It's the power of films, isn't it? What's your favorite Tarantino movie? Asks Jacob. Um, I mean, Pulp Fiction's a classic, isn't it? I love Reservoir Dogs. I really like Jackie Brown. Kill Bill was fun, both of them. Inglourious Basterds was good. I think after that, I'm less. I like his films less than most. Django Unchained, I thought. I mean, it coincides with the fact that his editor Sally Menkes, she died before Django Unchained, and all of his films, Django included, and post Django, I felt are quite overlong. But for my favorite Tarantino, I mean, if you rewatch Pulp Fiction now, some parts are kind of boring, you know. I think Reservoir Dogs holds up better, but I'm gonna go with Jackie Brown. You know, Jackie Brown is the most mature of Tarantino's works. Some good acting. It's got De Niro in it, Sam Jackson. You know, it's yeah. I'll say Jackie Brown. You ever seen Dead Man's Shoes? Is asks Stephen Butterfield. Is that the English film? Dead. Oh, let me just quickly look it up. I think it is, isn't it? The one that was made by the guy who made This Is England, I think, with Paddy Constine. His film Dead Man Shoes 2004. Yeah, I have seen that. That was a good movie, a really good movie with a shocking ending. Do you like Zack Snyder? No, I do not like Zack Snyder's films, to be honest. To be perfectly honest with you, I thought 300 is okay. You know, okay, the style wasn't really for me, but I can see why he went for that. But I did not like Man of Steel. I did not like Batman vs Superman. I haven't seen his Dawn of the Dead remake, but in general, I don't think his style is for me. Are you a huge Justin Bieber fan? No. The Oncoming Storm. Have you seen the underrated film Gangster Number One? Paul Bettany plays one of the most scary psychopathic gangsters put to film. I know of it. You know, I had it recorded on TV and then someone deleted it. It really irritated me. But yeah, I do want to watch that. I haven't seen it though. No, to answer your question. What is your favorite Terry Gilliam movie? Hmm. Brazil is a classic. 12 Monkeys is amazing, isn't it? You know, 'cause the thing is, when you guys ask me questions like these, I want to commit myself to answering them. So I'm just going to look up his filmography now, just to give you an answer, just in case I miss something. So let's see. He's directed. Oh, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. That was good as well. But I'll go for Brazil. You know, I'm in a kind of 1984 mood. You know, I read 1984 recently. I read Animal Farm. That kind of anti-bureaucratic, anti-government kind of sentiment. And then you've got the things that are happening in the world right now, and things that are happening here in my country, the UK, and Brazil kind of hits some of those spots, doesn't it? David Salgado, my favorite food? I don't know, man. There's loads of different foods, isn't it? Whatever, man. Whatever the wife's cooking. The safest possible answer I can give. So can you believe that at the beginning of this chat I said that I want it short and sweet, short and simple, yeah? And this one ended up becoming the longest one out of all of them. 2.5 hours we're almost at. But I mean, that's the thing, you know. You guys keep me entertained. You know, I've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed the conversations. Uh, where are we? I was just about to end it, but I've seen some more comments come through. You know, I'll keep it going as long as people are talking. You know, but I'm thinking about if we just call it a day soon. So where are we? It's funny thinking about someone going through your house and just deleting films. What the hell, Martin? Why are you trying to scheme like that? But I'll tell you something that happened to me. I used to be an addict when it came to collecting films. You know, every film that I watched, I wanted to keep it. So I had this massive hard drive, like 2 terabytes or something, filled to the brim with films. And one day I just plugged it in, and it wasn't working. I mean, no matter what I tried, everything was lost. It just became empty. And I don't know if you've seen Fight Club, but I had an experience that was similar to the character in Fight Club, where you would think that you'd be depressed and angry and pissed off, and you are momentarily, but it ends up becoming a liberating thing in that you don't realize how far in your addiction you were, and you're free now, you know. So I don't know what's funny about someone going through and deleting all my stuff, but yeah, something similar has happened before. Orion says, fun fact, do you know that Tarantino's planning on making a movie called 2V for Vega, and it's about two brothers from Tarantino's films? Yeah, I know about that. The Vic Vega one and the Vincent Vega one. I think I talked about that in my video, 40 Things You Didn't Know About Pulp Fiction. And if I remember correctly, the two actors were too old by the time Tarantino was looking to make it, for them to actually make it. But that's an interesting idea. I think it could have worked. It sounds interesting. Stingfoot23 says, did you ever watch Terry Gilliam's film The Man Who Killed Don, however it's pronounced, that finally got made? I haven't seen it yet, no. But you should review it for this channel. I love your content. Keep it up. Oh, thanks a lot, man. Where are we? The Dabbing King says he's found me on Spotify and is asking whether the content is the same. It doesn't seem updated. Yeah, I've got a deal with this company that want me on podcasts, so the actual kind of podcast, not this kind of podcast. And I've just kind of basically the idea is just to transfer some of my videos into podcast format, do that on a weekly basis. But it's like you said, Dabby King, I haven't updated it in ages. I need to get back to that, you know that. Martin W says, did you start having a second personality after that? No, no, I didn't have a second personality, but I found a sense of freedom in the way I watched films. Because what it was is, if I watched a film and there was something small, tiny in it that I liked, whether it was De Niro making a cameo appearance or one scene that I liked, I felt compelled to to download the film, to buy it, to pirate copy it, whatever, I don't know why, it was just so strange. And I had a huge hard drive where I had movies organized into different genres. There were more than 1,000 films on there, some of which I had never even seen. And it was just, it was getting crazy. And in hindsight, in retrospect, it was a great thing that my movie collection was destroyed, because I'll probably going to end up going crazy, because I wasn't enjoying watching films. I was doing it out of some kind of weird OCD addiction. Stephen Butterfield asks, thoughts on Danny Boyle? Yeah, I like Danny Boyle. Danny Boyle's a good filmmaker. One of my favorite aspects of his filmography is that it's so varied. There's so many different kinds of films he makes. You just never know what he's going to do next. And because of that, there are films that I've seen of his that I think are not very good, and then there's some films of his that I think are amazing. But yeah, I like him, Danny Boyle. He seems like a nice guy as well. What's your favorite musical? Cal L says, mine is the Oliver Twist film that was made in 1968. That's a childhood favorite of mine. I really like that film. And so one of the things with musicals is that I've seen a lot of musicals where I like the film but I don't like the music, and vice versa. Oliver is one where the music and the film itself I really enjoy. Who's your favorite James Bond? Sean Connery, followed by Timothy Dalton. But Sean Connery is the James Bond for me. Timothy Dalton was good, but he only had 2 films, which is unfortunate. And next, maybe Pierce Bronson. But Pierce Bronson didn't really have any good Bond movies. Only the first one, GoldenEye, was really good, but the rest were kind of poo. But yeah, for me, it's Sean Connery any day of the week. Martin W, do you like having films digitally or as DVDs and Blu-rays? The way I keep films is digitally. I mean, in a perfect world, if I had all the money and if I had the space, then I would probably want to keep them physically. But there's some films you just can't buy. You have to download them. Obscure art house films from Japan or something like that. Not everything is on the Criterion collection. And plus, you keep a film digitally, saves space. Saves money in some instances, if you know what I mean. But obviously there's the chance of losing it like I did. Orion says, last thing before I go, I just want to say thank you for answering my questions. I want to say keep up the good work on your videos and movie reviews and breakdowns. Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for being here. We've been here for a long time now, haven't we? Thanks for giving me the questions to answer. And if you're going, that seems like a good signal for me to go now. So I think, guys, it's been 2.5 hours. It's a long time. I did not at all expect. I need more discipline when it comes to live streams. I need to say to myself, right, 45 minutes, half an hour, whatever, and then maybe I can start doing it more consistently. So I think we can start making this a weekly thing now. Every Saturday about 11 o'clock UK time, which I think is about 6 o'clock America time or Washington time. And yeah, I mean, maybe we could even do a thing where we talk about a certain genre or a certain film. Maybe we could even all watch a film Yeah, we say, okay, let's watch this film this week, and then we will talk about it on the live stream. But yeah, I'm gonna close up in a couple of minutes if there's no more questions. Kal says, "Do you like Kirk Douglas?" I've seen a few films Kirk Douglas has been in. He is a good screen presence, but I haven't seen that many. Stephen Butterfield, favorite movie villain. Mine's Frank from. Oh yeah, Frank he's a character, isn't he? Once Upon a Time in the West. Leone was amazing at villains. Um, the Italian guy, for a few dollars more and a fistful of dollars. What was his name again? Gino or something? I can't remember his name, but he was a good bad guy, wasn't he? Then you got Lee Van Cleef as the bad, Angel Eyes in what do you call it? The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I just want to ask before you go, your favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie, aside from There Will Be Blood. There Will Be Blood is my favorite. I haven't seen that many others. I saw Boogie Nights, which was okay. I saw Magnolia again, which was okay. What else have I seen? I've seen The Master and Inherent Vice. I would say The Master. You know, The Master is it's a weird film. It's a difficult film, but the performances were amazing, especially from Phoenix. So I'll probably say The Master, but the big one for me is There Will Be Blood. That's my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie. I would like to know, what is your favorite animated movie, says David Salgado. Favorite animated movie? I don't know. There's so many, isn't there? I'll have to get back to you on that one, to be honest. I'll have to bring up my IMDb ratings of animated films I've seen over the years and see which one I rated at the top. Stephen Butterfield's up for that. Yeah, Martin W's up for that. The idea of watching a film together. So yeah, I mean, so one idea I had is that, like, say for example, if I'm on my community tab or on my live stream, I say, guys, let's all watch. You know, say for example, Gangster Number One. You know, something I haven't seen. Let's all watch this week, and let's discuss it on the live stream, and then I can review it the next week on an actual YouTube video, something like that. But if you guys are down for that kind of thing, you know, I'm up for it, definitely. That would build the community as well, you know, because that's one of the things I really like about YouTube and doing this and this channel, in that there's so many names that I see repeatedly on the comment section on the live streams, which is awesome. Hard 8 is a great film by PTA. I've heard of that. That was his first, wasn't it? I think. Are you a filmmaker? Says Cal L. Nope. Unless you count little videos I used to make on my phone with teddy bears that I actually posted on the YouTube channel. They did get well received, and I don't want to toot my own horn, but I thought they were pretty good, you know, for being videos made with children's teddy bears. But I had to take them down, you know, because I had got into all sorts of trouble with demonetization and all that stuff because I was using music from real films. What's your favorite comedy, says David Salgado. I don't think I have one definitive favorite comedy. Funnily enough, I tend not to find comedies funny, at least modern comedies. There's hundreds of comedies, films that I found funny, but what I want to say was that I like, I find a lot of gangster films funny. You know, it's weird that a lot of crime films, a lot of ultra serious movies. I mean, even like The Irishman, you know. Even The Irish. I'm just looking at the stream there. It looked like we cut out. But anyway, even The Irishman was a funny film. you know, Pacino's tirade, where he calls everybody a dumb motherfucker in his office, things like that, you know. I actually find these kind of serious movies funny. Eddie Costa says, "Have you seen the Deadwood movie yet?" Yeah, I have. The review's coming out in a couple of days. Yeah, I'll keep my opinion to the review. Do you have a favorite Sopranos quote? Well, I guess perhaps one of the most inspirational, one of the most inspiring quotes of The Sopranos, one that could change a person's life, one that perhaps all of us should put up on our wall. It's Paulie's classic, heh heh. It just encompasses so many things about life, doesn't it? David, are you okay? Do you need to go to bed? Is we favorite movie that win best? Sorry, I don't mean to laugh. Actually, I do mean to laugh. That was pretty funny. But what do you mean? Is we favorite movie that win best picture? Are we gonna win best picture, David? Are me and you and I gonna make a film together? And we're gonna make it. And we're gonna make it amazing. We're gonna make it so good. It's gonna win best picture. But yeah, guys, let's call it a day now. I need to reevaluate my live stream skills, because clearly I need to have a bit more discipline. 2 hours and 37 minutes. This live stream is almost as long as The Irishman. So yeah, thank you guys for staying. Thank you guys for all the Sopranos guys. All the Sopranos quotes have started. Yeah, so yeah, thank you for sticking around. I really enjoyed. This is probably the most. I enjoyed all the live streams, but I probably had more fun here, as shown by the fact that I've not even realized that almost 2 hours and 40 minutes have gone past. But yeah, so thank you a lot, guys. I'll see you around. Stay tuned for videos on the channel. 1 video per day for the next couple of weeks. Usually it's 1 video every 3 days. But yeah. So see you guys. See you, Stephen, Martin, David, everybody who's still on. And yeah. Bye bye.